Hey, what's up guys? It's Michael here. So recently I had a friend of mine ask me about the newly launched Vanguard Personal Investor product in Australia, which is actually a Vanguard created ASX stock brokerage account with $0 brokerage on all Vanguard ETFs and managed funds. That's right, $0 brokerage on the ASX, but there's definitely some things you need to be aware of the product before you jump right ahead and use it. So in this video, I'm going to share with you guys a detailed review of the Vanguard Personal Investor offering in Australia and how it stacks up compared to purchasing Vanguard ETFs through another stockbroker, and also how it compares to buying directly through the Vanguard Wholesale or Retail Managed Fund options they have as well. This way you'll know in exactly which situations it'll be optimal for you to use the Vanguard Personal Investor in Australia, as like I said, it's not that straightforward. But what is straightforward is you helping out by smashing that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Alright, so let's jump into the video. For those of you who don't know who or what Vanguard is, I'll keep this really brief, but Vanguard is a fund manager and is actually the largest provider of mutual funds in the world. And in Australia, they are by far the most popular fund manager and ETF manager in the country. 2019 was a record year for Vanguard ETFs, with Vanguard ETF assets under management growing to $19.5 billion. Making 2019 Vanguard's strongest year since launching their first ETF on the ASX 10 years ago. However, today we're actually going to be looking into Vanguard's newest product offering, which is the Vanguard Personal Investor. And the Vanguard Personal Investor product that Vanguard has launched is really just an easy way for investors to invest specifically in Vanguard ETFs or managed funds, or actually just anything on the Australian stock market as well. So in terms of who can use it, basically you just need to be an Australian resident and over 18. Nothing too complicated here. And in terms of fees for setting up the account, there's nothing here as well. With no fees for opening up an account, no fees for transferring funds into the account, and no withdrawal or exit fees, which is great, and very much in the vein of Vanguard being low fee. In terms of the feature set you get when signing up to the Vanguard Personal Investor, there's really four main elements of the product, which I'll break down. They have the Vanguard Cash Account, the Vanguard ETFs, Vanguard Managed Funds, and then the rest of the ASX. So as part of the Personal Investor product, you get a Vanguard Cash Account for free, which is essentially like a regular cash account that you'd have with any stockbroker, except unlike a lot of the other competitors in Australia, the Vanguard Cash Account actually receives an interest rate return, which is currently 0.5% per annum. So this sounds really good on paper. However, this is a little bit deceptive, and I'll show you why. So firstly, it was actually extremely difficult to find what the current interest rate was. If you start on the main page, it actually tells you nothing about the interest rate, just that you'll get one. However, if you scroll right to the bottom, you can find the Vanguard Personal Investor Part B, Statement of Additional Information, which is a PDF that tells you a bunch of additional things. And this actually does make reference to the interest rate on your Vanguard Cash Account. However, it doesn't actually tell you the rate, and again points you to another link. However, clicking this link just takes you to the main Vanguard Personal Investor page, which again has no reference to the interest rate on the actual cash account. So at this point I was starting to get pretty frustrated, but I was finally able to find, if you go to the fees and costs page of the Personal Investor page, you are able to actually find a section about the competitive interest rate, where they have a link to a PDF with the actual interest rate shown. Don't ask me why the only way to see the interest rate return is in the fees section of the website, but that's where you'll find it. However, when I started to look into it a bit more, I think I know why it was found there. I think it's actually meant to act as a little bit of a distraction technique, because if you scroll down to the bottom of the same page, you actually find that they again talk about the interest rate on the Vanguard Cash Account, and again being 0.5% per annum. However, this is actually where you need to be very careful and make sure you read the fine print properly and not to be confused, because this is not referencing the 0.5% return you get on your money in the cash account. This is actually referring to another fee that is charged by Vanguard. Basically, on any interest you earn from funds in your cash account, Vanguard will take 0.5% of that and charge it as a fee. So say you had $1,000 in there. In a year, you would earn 0.5% return, which would be $5. However, Vanguard will take 0.5% of that, which is only 2.5 cents, so not too bad, leaving you with only $4.97.5. But it actually doesn't stop there, which is what's sort of annoying about it. So Vanguard actually charges an additional fee of 0.2% per annum on your whole account balance. And this actually includes your cash account as well, which on that $1,000 plus your return from the interest rate of $4.97.5, after a year, that fee ends up being just over $2, leaving you with just under $3 in actual returns. So the actual interest rate you're getting is not 0.5% per annum and is actually just under 0.3% per annum. So granted, this is still better than the 0% interest rate return offered by the majority of other ASX brokers in their cash accounts, but they definitely lose points here for not being more transparent with the true return. So next, let's have a look at the actual investment options that you have within the Vanguard Personal Investor, with the headline feature being $0 brokerage fees on purchasing any Vanguard ETF listed on the ASX, which is honestly a pretty amazing feature with nothing close being offered by any other ASX broker in Australia. And there aren't really any catches with this, which is awesome. You just need a minimum transaction size of $500 and you can purchase any Vanguard ETF investment for free. However, there are a few things you do need to be aware of when using this. First, that 0.2% per annum fee I talked about earlier applies to your whole Vanguard Personal Investor account balance. So if you had $10,000, for example, in Vanguard ETFs through it, you would be charged $20 a year. And of course, there isn't any fee like this associated with other ASX brokers. So really you're paying for free brokerage through this yearly fee. However, if you find that your brokerage costs for buying Vanguard ETFs is more than the yearly fee, then you can actually come out ahead here. Also, the fee is capped at $600 a year. So once your entire balance starts to grow over $300,000, this fee actually becomes much smaller as a percentage of your total balance, and you'll be definitely coming out ahead here as well. So the next thing you need to be aware of as well is that 0.2% per annum fee does not exclude you from the fees associated with each individual ETF itself. So this will be exactly the same as if you were purchasing Vanguard ETFs via any other broker. For example, with VAS, you're still going to be charged the 0.1% per annum fee for the management of the ETF, but that's really it. And this is really where the Vanguard Personal Investor product shines, and is going to be a good option if you're regularly only buying Vanguard ETFs. And if you're wondering what Vanguard ETFs would be good to pick up, check out my video that I've done on the best Vanguard ETFs on the ASX. So later on in the video, I'll actually break down in detail and show you guys the exact inflection points at which it's better to use the Vanguard Personal Investor versus a different ASX broker. But before that, let's look at the two other investment options within the product. First, Vanguard Managed Funds. One big bonus of using the Vanguard Personal Investor is that you actually get access to the Wholesale Managed Funds, which normally have a $500,000 minimum balance requirement. And these have much lower fees than their Retail Managed Fund counterparts. However, the Wholesale Funds actually have higher fees than their equivalent ETFs. And there's almost no situation in which I would recommend that you use the managed funds over the ETFs. The only small benefit and consolation that they do have is that they have no minimum investment amount other than the initial $5,000. So if you actually prefer investing in small parcels of less than $500, which is the minimum transaction size for the ETFs, then that is one small benefit for the managed funds. But in the long run, it's really not worth it when you look at the fees. If we look at Vanguard Australian shares, for example, the ETF has a management fee of 0.1% per annum. However, the equivalent wholesale managed fund has a fee of 0.16% per annum. And just to clarify, you still need to pay the 0.2% per annum fee for any funds invested in the managed funds as well. So you're not saving in that regard. And then the last investment option that you have using the Vanguard Personal Investor is actually buying non-Vanguard shares or ETFs on the ASX. And I'll keep this one really brief for you guys. The personal investor is terrible for this. Do not use it if you are going to be buying shares or ETFs on the ASX that are not Vanguard ETFs. So to start with, they have brokerage fees of $19.95 or 0.15% of the value, whichever is greater. So you compare this with SelfWealth, the current cheapest broker in Australia, who have fixed costs of $9.50 a trade, no matter the value. However, remember, you're also going to be charged that 0.2% per annum on your entire portfolio, and this includes any non-Vanguard ETFs. So say, for example, you had Commonwealth Bank shares in your Vanguard Personal Investor, you would be charged 0.2% per annum on the balance of your Commonwealth Bank shares every single year. So again, just so it's super clear to you guys, if you're investing in shares or ETFs other than Vanguard ETFs on the ASX, do not use the Vanguard Personal Investor for this, and instead use a low-cost broker like SelfWealth. And if you haven't signed up for SelfWealth yet, check out my referral link in the description below to get 5 free trades. Now, I know it sounds like I've been blasting the Vanguard Personal Investor product, but the truth is it can actually be quite good depending on your circumstances, which I'll go into now. For example, let's say you primarily invest in 2 Vanguard ETFs and the balance of these is $50,000 and you're purchasing additional units every single month. With SelfWealth, you would have paid $228 in brokerage fees a year, which actually works out to be 0.456% per annum on a balance of 50K. Compare this with the Vanguard Personal Investor, where you would have paid no brokerage, but instead 0.2% per annum, which comes out to $100 for the year. Obviously, this is less than if you were with SelfWealth. So basically, you just need to work out how much you estimate you would spend on brokerage fees, specifically on Vanguard ETFs in a year. And if that works out to be more than 0.2% of your total Vanguard ETF value, then it actually makes sense to use the Vanguard Personal Investor for your Vanguard ETFs. And then if the value of your Vanguard ETFs is greater than 300K, then it definitely makes sense to use the product, as you would be hitting the fee cap of $600 a year. So this is the thing I don't really understand about the Vanguard Personal Investor. It's actually marketed as a simple and easy to use solution for new investors, but really the greatest benefit is for seasoned investors with very large portfolio balances of over 300K. However, in saying that, I do overall think it is a decent product and I'm glad they brought it to the market in Australia. However, I do think Vanguard could rethink some of the fees and at least make the non-Vanguard share purchasing a lot more cost-effective and competitive, especially if they really do want to drive greater adoption of the product. So personally, I don't actually use the Vanguard Personal Investor and I don't really plan on using it currently. This is mainly because the ETF market in Australia has become extremely competitive and there are a lot of lower fee alternatives to many of the most popular Vanguard ETFs. Like for example, you can pick up A200 instead of VAS and get a lower management fee, and DHHF instead of VDHG and again get a lower management fee. And the other main reason is that I also mainly hold ETFs from funds other than Vanguard. So it really wouldn't make sense for me personally to use the Vanguard Personal Investor, since I'd be getting charged a bucket load of fees and pay more in brokerage. However, like I said, depending on your circumstances, and if you are buying a lot of Vanguard ETFs, it could actually turn out to be a lot cheaper for yourself. So definitely run the numbers and have a look if it does make sense. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. If you guys made it to the very end and you haven't already subscribed, please make sure to subscribe. I post videos every week on investing, money, and finance. So if you want to stay tuned with that, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and make sure you hit the bell. And let me know in the comments what you would like me to cover next, and gently destroy that like button to help with the YouTube algorithm and share it to a wider audience. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, peace.